With that, I'll bring Pastor Chad up to give the state of the church.
Yeah, I don't know how that ever got started. I think Pastor Stephanie started that language, but it's okay. But this is really important, and I do like to be able to, once a year in January, be able to tell you, the congregation, those who are here, basically where we've been, where we're moving, and because Bethlehem is a large congregation, you have your part in this, but you may not be aware of the whole. And right now is an opportunity for me to bring just the whole so that we all can see this a little bit more clearly. And while I have to make all kinds of concessions as far as what we're going to include and what we're not, I hope that this is useful for the congregation. So before I can get to 2024, I want to do this by way of the last 5 years. 2019 through 2024, we're beginning 2025, so 19 to 24, 5 years. Does anybody think 5 years is a long time? Because it flew by for me. But I need you to know what has taken place in the last 5 years to understand where we are now, to understand where we want to go. So let me take you on a trip. 5 years, relatively short amount of time. What have we been up to? We had a pastoral staff shuffle in the last 5 years. Pastor D's 33-year tenure came to an end. Pastor Janine's tenure came to an end. Interim call process with Pastor Peter, reduced pastoral staff from 3 to 2 in a new kind of strategic plan where we wanted to right-size our pastoral staff. I interviewed and was selected to fill the lead pastor position, and Pastor Stephanie completed the pastoral team. 5 years. That's what took place for the pastoral staff. Additional staff. We made a number of different searches in the last 5 years. A search for an ECC director. Jenny came on board, has been doing a fantastic job in that role as our ECC director. We searched for a facility manager. Vince came on board, is doing an excellent job with that. We added youth and family staff, Mindy, and I didn't even include our office staff changed as well. Emily Rosberg now is in our front office. We've had just staff change in the last 5 years. Key roles. Facility. Bethlehem became debt-free in the last 5 years. We funded 7 capital projects in the last 5 years. 2 industrial boilers, 1 industrial AC roof unit, parking lot resurfacing and striping, building heating control valves, blinds, sanctuary lighting, and there were a number of other smaller projects, but nonetheless important for the infrastructure and the work of the congregation in the last 5 years for the facility. Then, who could forget this? That was fun. COVID happened in the last 5 years. 2 years of constant change. Just really navigating all of the different twists and turns that entailed as far as restrictions and how we carried out the mission that we were called to do. That began our online ministry development really in full swing during that pandemic time in the last 5 years. And COVID also served as really an accelerant for the culture shift that we've been seeing across the board in this country in terms of organized religion, where most congregations expect to see really a 20% just loss of engagement resulting specifically from COVID itself. Why? Because people were given the opportunity, really, which is a spiritual practice, to take a timeout. It was a mandatory timeout, but they had to ask the question, what was valuable to me? What was valuable to us? What will we continue to do when we can do this? And that did impact almost all organizations, but especially congregations. And we continue to think about what it means to be church then in light of all of these changes that really have been pushing forward heavily since the COVID pandemic. Then, we also, on the ministry side, several different internal pieces. We did a constitution update, ministry teams and committee updates, internal process updates. These were all important in order for us to continue to organize as a congregation to be fluid and flexible and yet intentional about how we do ministry. Then we did a Wednesday redesign, an emphasis on themes as we're talking about what value do we bring and how do we address these really current needs, and an emphasis on community value and service, so being out in the middle of the community. And at the end of all of this, these 5 years of all of that, at present, we are stable. And that's a lovely thing. No, I mean, seriously though, you do need, I mean, in 5 years, if you think about an organization, that is a lot. That's just a lot of change and a lot of work to be doing. But I tell you that because where we find ourselves right now at the beginning of 2025 is in an incredibly stable position, much more so than we have been in the last 5 years, which I'm grateful for. So many people have put in so much work to make that happen. But what that also means now is the question, what's next? Where do we go? What are we going to be looking at? What are we going to be working on? So let me answer that a little bit by way of this last year in 2024, which saw a number of different kind of initiatives and directions that we're only going to be building on. So I'm going to there's words, I'm just going to read some of this for you. But we start with our mission, of course. Our vision, is to create a community of disciples. We are followers of Jesus. That is what it means to be this kind of faith community. Who and how do we carry that out? Our mission is to worship, pray, learn, give, and serve. These are the marks of a disciple. And as it relates to Bethlehem's mission, when we focus on this idea of giving, this means practicing generosity to be God's hands and feet for the betterment of the St. Cloud community. Generosity enables human flourishing for both those who give and receive, and Bethlehem is committed to cultivating a culture of generosity by providing opportunities for individuals to give of their time, passions, finances for the mission that we have. What is the impact of that mission in this last year? In 2024, Bethlehem volunteers gave over 13,000 hours to service ministries. That's a conservative estimate. I want you to break that down for a second in your mind and think about, like, somebody can do the math on this, but like 13,000 hours converts to how many days, how many weeks, I mean, it's a lot. It's amazing that this congregation is able to contribute that kind of volunteerism in this community. We on the bottom have continued to expand our community partners. This is something so key to who we are and who we need to be, and it keeps building. And so I'm not going to read all of those, but this list keeps growing as to the community partners that we work with to bring about the betterment of St. Cloud community through the work of this congregation. Bethlehem's Youth and Family Ministries trained 32 youth volunteers, 20 high school youth went to Boston. The focus on youth and families is still a huge priority, especially around this idea of what it means to give, to be God's hands and feet in this place, in this time. Kids can come and they can have fun, they can build community, they can be entertained, but on a much deeper level, what this community is about, bring your kids not just to hear a story, but to learn what it is to forgive. Bring your kids not just to play a game, but to learn what it means to love your neighbor in a way that actually makes a difference, in a way that melts hardness of hearts and this idea that it's us and them. I mean, there's not a lot of communities that help teach this to young people, and we want to make sure that that is continuing to be a part of what we do. Bethlehem, speaking of this is something I want people to know. We just had a noisy offering for the Yes Network today at our first service. Bethlehem donated over $10,000 in special offerings to support local nonprofit partners like the Yes Network this last year in 2024. We need to continue to do that. You also need to know that we also, as a congregation, working with social service agencies, working with social workers, we were able to give over $5,000 in emergency aid and assistance to those in need. What does that look like? This is not emergency gas. This is not any of those type of things. This is, we are being evicted from our home. We're working with partners. We have our kids, where are we going to go? Like, where are we going to go? It's that kind of work. It is, my car is broken down. I cannot afford to fix it, pay groceries, and get medication. Can you help with car repairs so I can go to my job, so I can keep my place? That's what that is for. And we have built up a network of partners within the social service community here, and we continue to work with them. And Bethlehem continues to be a place where they actually email us on a semi-regular basis asking the question, do you have help? Can you help with this? Can you help with that? We're able to, and we do. And the important thing is we have partners in how we do that. All right, digital ministry impact. This continues to just keep going. In 2024, this is just youth and family. This is not our worship side. This is just our youth and family team. Produced 23 videos from our youth and family ministry, uploaded 20 new videos to YouTube on YouTube, 11,322 views for 314 hours watched on YouTube for youth ministry. Uploaded 14 videos to Facebook. Facebook views was at 12,621 for total video views, Facebook and YouTube, of 23,943. So that's, if you don't have to clap, that's thank you, but that's fine. But what you need to know though is that this congregation doesn't just serve the community that gathers physically in this place. We are actually in the living rooms, the phones, the computer screens of different people in the St. Cloud area at home, but a lot of people outside the St. Cloud community. Think this last year, everything kind of runs together. At least 2 congregations in Southwest Minnesota were using some of our digital content for their confirmation program because they don't have a pastor. At that time. And so volunteers were using the curriculum that we produced that is online in a video format to help with their confirmation ministries in their congregations. That's cool. Okay, keep going. I am limited on time. ECC, we don't talk enough oftentimes about our early childhood center here. Here are some numbers for you to know. We served 54 families this year. Employed 15 individuals. 3 former students and alumni enrolled their children in our program. I think that's kind of fun. So people who were preschoolers and early childhood participants are now having kids and putting their kids back in ECC. 8 staff have been employed at Bethlehem for 3 years or more, and the current staff here has over 60 years of combined service to Bethlehem in the ministry that is ECC. Continues to be, they also, as part of our overall budget, make up 26% of the overall budget. They are break even, they are part of our ministry, but they also are the only side of our ministry that actually generates revenue that way. Prayer ministry impact. You don't know about this, and you should. Over the course of 2024, we had 73 public prayer requests, 80 staff prayer requests, 28 grieving requests, 8 global ones, for a total of 189 families that have made requests for prayer. If you take a second, step back again, if you have ever asked for prayer, you know the situation in which you've asked for that. Normally, most people do not ask for prayer unless there is something significant happening in their life. And most people, when they learn and hear that this community is offering prayer for them and thinking about them in a real kind of way, they're incredibly grateful for that. Do not underestimate the impact that simply offering people, holding people in prayer and remembering people makes on them, but also you. So, that is where we end 2024 with. To move forward, we continue to invest heavily in this community. This congregation has always been involved within the St. Cloud area. We need to continue to build on that, and the way that we're doing that is that myself, Stephanie, Melanie Halter, we are a part of a number of different community organizations, growing that involvement all the time, finding ways that Bethlehem can walk alongside of other groups to carry out our mission, being the hands, feet, and Christ in this world, worship, pray, learn, give, and serve, alongside of what other people are already doing. Bethlehem should be known as a community church that actually addresses the deep needs that we have in this community that many people are struggling with. That is something that we'll continue to work on. Youth and family development is also this other piece where we want to continue to welcome families and kids in, not just to be entertained. We want it to be engaging, but we also want this deep understanding of what it means to be a loved child of God as it relates to how we live and serve with others. We're going to continue to work on these basic two elements of community involvement, youth and family, and how that relates to our worship, to our serving, to our praying, to all of those missional aspects as we continue to move forward. But that's where we find ourselves, and we can actually take a little bit more of an effort in that, because after 5 years of a lot of major shifts and transitions, which again, kudos to all of the leadership in this congregation for navigating that the way that they have, we are in a spot where we can ask the question, what's next?